So unfortunately for some cruise ship employees out there, they are already having a horrible start to the year 2023. Hey, what's going on everybody? Jay here. I hope all of you are doing well. Me, I'm fine. I just finished being sick. I don't get sick too often, but when I do, I'm like a baby. I need all the nurturing care that I can get. So thankfully my girlfriend Lauren has been here nursing me back to health, and now I'm as good as new. Well, kind of. Anyway, we got to talk about a cruise line that is laying off employees. Now, we are talking about, of course, Norwegian Cruise Line or NCL. However, before we dive into this, I got to say, with respect to NCL and everything that's going on, we are seeing a very difficult time in the economy and around the world. Even if the announcement hasn't officially been made, many would argue that we are in a recession. To that, I would also agree. So, NCL has recently started cutting shows on board their ships. One in particular, a very popular one known as Kinky Boots. As of today, that ship will be gone from existence off of the NCL Encore. Now, if we backtrack and look at history's past and what's going on with NCL as of late, when it comes down toward the end of 2022, in December, they did lay off about 9% of what's known as their shoreside staff, the people that are on land. I'm not 100% sure what is contained within that 9%. You could be talking about some of the marketing team, some of the production managers when it comes to entertainment, all of that jazz. People that are the land people for Norwegian Cruise Line. But either way, that's also not a good sign. And then after that, NCL has announced that they will be getting rid of one of their roles, the junior stateroom steward role, and replacing it and making everybody an official stateroom steward, and also increasing, which means it means more expensive for all of you out there when it comes to the tips and the auto gratuities on board their ships to give you an overall better experience. Like I said, all of this is with the understanding that there is a lot going on right now with the economy, and we've seen throughout now and even in the past year or so with the pandemic, supply chain issues and all of that jazz. And well, it's somewhat understandable. The only problem when it comes to situations like this are the people that are unfortunately on the back end and dealing with the results of having these cuts. When it comes to people working, for example, in this show, Kinky Boots Entertainment, and I'm speaking as somebody that has worked in the theme park industry, the cruise ship industry. I've worked for three separate cruise lines as well. I've worked for touring companies like the Harlem Globetrotters. When it comes to entertainment and when it comes to tours in particular, these types of jobs are not like your typical 9 to 5 where you go from home and then you go to work and then you clock in and then you go home. You are usually on these ships, for example, for anywhere between 6 to 9 months, meaning you have to plan to be gone. You have your going away party, you may sublease your apartment, you do all of these things in preparation to be gone for that extended amount of time that you would be completing your contract. And when things go south, well, it throws a giant anchor into the mix, and just like that, you have a giant problem. A lot of these entertainers could have potentially been set to be on board the ship between now and maybe the next 6 months. I'm hearing that a lot of them are stating that they were planning on joining the ship in 2 days' time, and now they are realizing that their contract has been, well, voided. They are not leaving, and they've already done all of their planning to be gone. And again, it creates a giant problem because the entertainment life is typically a gig to gig type of setting in which, well, you are signing contracts or you are trying as best you can to plan ahead for the next show. That way you continue making money and supporting yourself and your life, your family, whoever it is that you're supporting with the financial gains that you are making. This type of situation also took place during the pandemic. This was, of course, during the shutdown in 2020. There was another show called Six the Musical. I had a couple friends of mine that were involved in that show on board NCL ships, and that show ended up getting nixed, and those people were unfortunately let go and to kind of fend for themselves. You also have to understand, for all of you out there that have not worked in this type of industry, that, like I said, this is not your standard 9 to 5, meaning you have no rights to any type of compensation or a severance package. You're not getting benefits, anything of that nature. You're signing your contract, and whatever is negotiated, then that's what you get, because technically you are not an employee of the cruise line. You're an independent contractor. And well, to be honest, it just doesn't leave you a lot of wiggle room. So should something go wrong, unless you have money in the bank saved already, which Hopefully, everybody that's dealing with the situation does, but we all know that is not the case. It is just being realistic. It can create some problems. Something I learned early on over 10 years ago when I was working at theme parks is that whenever there are budget cuts, typically entertainment is the first thing to go. Whenever I was working at Busch Gardens, they had a situation at SeaWorld where a lot of people were striking against SeaWorld. You guys remember Blackfish and that whole thing was going on? Well, the theme park that I was working at, Busch Gardens, is a sister company of SeaWorld. And well, since people were striking against SeaWorld, they weren't going to Busch Gardens, which means budget cuts came. And when budget cuts came, a lot of the shows that I was doing in particular was gone because there was no longer a budget. Thankfully, the company was able to find other slots. This is what NCL is also doing for some of the crew members. But the reality is, there just isn't going to be a spot for everyone. I did also experience this last year when it came to Virgin Voyages. They said it was because of supply chain issues that they didn't launch the ship that I was supposed to be working on, Resilient Lady. But we all know that money was also a factor launching so many ships in such a short time, and no guarantee that the revenue would meet the debt that maybe most of these cruise lines are in. It caused a problem to the point to where a lot of people that thought they had jobs no longer had jobs. And again, you got a lot of people that unfortunately are going to be caught holding the bag on this one, which means they are not going to be making the money that they thought they would be making. I may sound like a broken record here, but it's just to get you guys to understand the process in which all of this is done, because if you haven't worked in this industry, then it's hard to kind of really get somebody to understand. Maybe some of you do, some of you don't, but either way, you get what I'm saying here. But here's the worry now. When stuff like this happens, layoffs and budget cuts, and it seems to be random, or something happens where, let's say in this case, NCL fired 9% of their shoreside staff, and they maybe told everybody this is it, this is the only cut and drop back they're going to be making, and then they make another one. What this is going to do is lower the overall morale and potentially the productivity of the people that are working for said company, because naturally for them, in their mind, they're going to wonder, if I am next, am I the one that's going to lose my job next and have my livelihood affected? Just to be clear, I am no moral high authority. I'm no CEO either, obviously. I'm speaking on this because it is an interesting topic and it's just business at the end of the day. When it comes to NCL, it's just sad, and we do understand somewhat. Because, like I said, we are in a recession right now. There's a lot going on, and the cruise lines, they have to keep their ships afloat, pun intended, by the way. And well, this is just simple business, and welcome to the real world. Things are going to happen. It is very sad to see that people are losing their jobs, and you have people that may have been getting their first contract, their dream job to work on board a cruise ship. As I've experienced myself and a lot of my friends, when they get their contracts, it's like their dreams have come true. They get to sail the seven seas and go to beautiful places and do what they love for a living. And when that gets just kind of rug pulled and taken away out of you without warning, then naturally it is extremely heartbreaking. So my heart does go out to all of the crew members, the entertainers that are in kinky boots, for example. And should something like this continue to happen, I hope all of you are able to work it out. Thankfully, we are not as deep in the pandemic. Whether you see the pandemic as over or not, there are other opportunities out there for all of you. And well, hopefully things continue to maybe get better, but I guess time will tell here in the year 2023, since we are just getting started and sailing right into it. Once again, just to be clear, I don't want to make this a bash at NCL. Like I said, I believe this is business. We live in the real world. And even though NCL is not my favorite cruise line, they do some questionable things from time to time. But it's like any company. If you are a normal person out there, I want to say the majority of us have worked for a big company. I've worked for Walmart and Dunkin' Donuts. I've worked for pizza places, Papa John's, delivery guy, Domino's, you name it, I've done it. And once you get into the internal side of things, typically you see some things and you're like, oh, this company's kind of weird and shady sometimes. Most of you understand what I'm talking about. You worked for McDonald's when you were a kid. You probably never looked at McDonald's the same way ever again. Don't hate NCL. There are some things, like I said, questionable, but when it comes to this type of situation, it is sad. But their bottom line is the cruise lines, NCL in this case, have to look out for their bottom line, their shareholders, and making sure the company is still able to bring in some type of revenue and trim the fat if needed. But we'll see what happens down the road. That's all I got for this news. As I recover, I apologize. My voice is a little monotone here, and my thoughts are all over the place. I'm still getting my mind right. You know, it's weird when you get sick. You kind of feel like you just drift off into la la land. I've been a little off the rocker here and there, but I'll get back. hopefully tomorrow. Anyway, guys, that's all I got. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comment section below. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already. And as usual, know that I love and appreciate every single one of you. I'll see you later. Take it easy.